Welcome back, again on the tides of history. Today, we uncover one of the most powerful motivations behind Columbus's voyages: gold and resources. When he first arrived, he noticed the natives wearing gold jewelry. This fueled his belief that vast mines of untold riches were hidden across these new lands. His reports to Spain sparked excitement, ambition, and a rush for further expeditions that would forever change the world. Imagine stepping off a ship after months at sea, onto a land you believe is the edge of Asia. This was Christopher Columbus in 1492, but it was just the strange new plants and animals that caught his eye. It was something that glittered on the people who greeted him. The Taino, he saw small, yet significant, pieces of gold, ornaments in their noses, simple earrings, little trinkets glinting in the Caribbean sun. For a man financed by the Spanish crown, a kingdom hungry for wealth to fund its ambitions and compete with Portugal, this was more than just jewelry. It was a sign, a confirmation. The tales of Marco Polo, the legends of untold riches in the East, it all seemed to be coming true right before his eyes. These small gold pieces weren't just decorations. To Columbus, they were the tip of a golden iceberg. He wasn't a geologist. He was an explorer with a mission. His logic was simple. If there's a little gold here, there must be a massive source nearby. He envisioned vast, rich mines just waiting to be claimed. He began asking, through gestures and broken communication, where does this come from? The Taino people pointed inland, or towards other islands, likely referring to the scattered alluvial deposits where they found gold flakes in riverbeds. But Columbus's imagination, fueled by ambition and the immense pressure to deliver on his promises, transformed these vague directions into a map to El Dorado. He was convinced he was on the doorstep of the legendary gold mines of Chipangu, or Japan, as he thought it was. In his log, which was essentially his report back to his patrons, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain, Columbus painted a picture of incredible potential. He wrote with breathless excitement about the abundance of gold. He described natives who were, in his words, so guileless and so generous with all they have that they would trade chunks of gold for worthless trinkles like hawk's bells or broken glass. This narrative was crucial. It wasn't just a travel diary. It was a business proposal. He was telling Spain, the investment is paying off. There's gold here for the taking, and the people are simple and will not resist. He collected as many samples as he could, ornaments, masks, and dust, to take back as proof. When Columbus returned to Spain in 1493, he didn't just bring back a few captive natives and strange parrots. He brought the promise of gold. He presented his findings at court, displaying the golden artifacts he had acquired. His reports were electric. He described islands overflowing with spices, cotton, and most importantly, gold. He exaggerated, of course. The quantities he found were minor, but the story he told was of a land of infinite wealth. This was the spark that lit the fuse of a colonial explosion. The Spanish monarchy, seeing the potential for a massive return on their investment, immediately funded a second, much larger voyage. This time, Columbus wasn't just leading 3 small ships. He commanded a fleet of 17 vessels, carrying over 1,200 men. Their purpose was no longer just exploration. It was colonization and exploitation. They were not just sailors and adventurers. They were soldiers, farmers, and priests, all sent to establish a permanent Spanish foothold and, above all, to find and extract those fabled gold mines. The search for gold became the primary driver of Spanish policy in the Americas for decades to come. The obsession with gold led to brutal consequences. When the vast mines Columbus imagined didn't materialize, the Spanish forced the native Taíno population into labor, panning rivers and digging futilely for the promised treasure. The quest for gold was relentless and unforgiving. It led to the establishment of the encomienda system, a form of forced labor that devastated the indigenous populations through overwork and disease. The glittering promise Columbus saw in those first small ornaments had turned into a dark and destructive hunger. This hunger wasn't confined to the Caribbean. Columbus's reports and the subsequent trickle of gold that started flowing back to Europe ignited a gold fever across the continent. Other explorers and conquistadors were inspired to launch their own expeditions, each hoping to be the one to find the next great source of wealth. This led to the expeditions of Hernán Cortés against the Aztec Empire and Francisco Pizarro against the Inca Empire. Unlike the Taíno, the Aztecs and Incas did have vast quantities of gold and silver, which they used for ceremonial and artistic purposes, not as currency. When the Spanish saw the incredible treasures of Tenochtitlan and Cusco temples sheathed in gold, intricate sculptures, and immense quantities of precious metals, it was the ultimate validation of Columbus's initial promise. Magnified 1,000 times over, the plunder from these empires flooded into Spain, making it the wealthiest and most powerful nation in Europe for a time. This influx of wealth fundamentally changed the European economy, fueling wars, building empires, and funding the Renaissance. But it came at an unimaginable cost to the peoples of the Americas. So, when we think about Columbus, it's easy to focus on the discovery, the new world, but the real story, the one that shaped the next 3 centuries of world history, is intertwined with that glint of gold he saw on that first day. It was a story of assumption, ambition, and exaggeration. Those small native ornaments, worn with cultural significance, were misinterpreted as a sign of commercial wealth. This misinterpretation fueled a report that launched an empire, sparked a gold rush that spanned a continent, and ultimately led to the conquest and devastation of ancient civilizations. The quest for gold, initiated by what Columbus saw, became the engine of the Spanish Empire and forever altered the destiny of 2 worlds. It all began with a simple, glittering piece of jewelry. Thanks for watching. If you found this dive into history interesting, please give us a like, share this video,